wouldn't have had the war in Ukraine. We wouldn't have had the Russia-Ukraine situation. We wouldn't have had October 7th, Israel, the Middle East. We wouldn't have had inflation. This is Biden's war. This is not my war. I've been here for a very short period of time. This is a war that was under Biden. He gave him billions and billions of dollars. He should have never allowed, if he had any brain, which he didn't have and doesn't have, and now it's being proven. But remember this is Biden's war. I'm just trying to get it stopped.
This is my video update on this Monday afternoon, April the 14th, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And how about US President Trump on Air Force One, asked by a reporter to comment on the strike in Sumy. Trump told the reporter that what happened was horrible and that he wants the war in Ukraine to end. And then Trump said, "This is Biden's war." He said it. This is Biden's war. Wow, what a statement from the US president. Perhaps we are seeing a shift in messaging from the Trump administration. Perhaps the Trump administration, President Trump, is hinting at siding with Witkoff and Istanbul Plus, winding down the U.S.'s involvement in Project Ukraine and ditching the Kellogg-Waltz European ceasefire, unconditional ceasefire plan. Perhaps we're seeing Trump leaning towards Witkoff's side of things, which is the Istanbul Plus June 2024 terms that Russia has put out there. And if they can't get Ukraine to agree to the June 2024 terms, then maybe Trump is hinting at walking away from Project Ukraine. This is Biden's war. I'm trying to stop it, he said. Maybe Trump then says if Ukraine doesn't agree to the terms, maybe Trump says, I tried, couldn't stop it. Ukraine would not agree, so we've done our best. We're done with Project Ukraine as the United States of America. Maybe that's where things are going. Of course, with Trump, you never know. Tomorrow, he could be blaming Putin for the conflict. At least today, he finally said, this is Biden's war. And he even posted it on Truth Social. Amazing, huh? The war between Russia and Ukraine is Biden's war, not mine. I just got here, and for 4 years during my term, had no problem in preventing it from happening. President Putin and everyone else respected your president. I had nothing to do with this war, but am working diligently to get the death and destruction to stop. If the 2020 presidential election was not rigged, and it was in so many ways, that horrible war would never have happened. President Elensky and crooked Joe Biden did an absolutely horrible job in allowing this travesty to begin. There were so many ways of preventing it from ever starting, but that is the past. Now we have to get it to stop, and fast. So sad. An amazing statement from Trump. Definitely a change in messaging, perhaps a change in direction from the Trump administration. Time will tell. So Sumy, the reporter, tried to get Trump on Sumy, on the missile strikes in Sumy. A gotcha question to Trump when he asked Trump about the Russian missile strike in Sumy that happened on Sunday, and Trump did not take the bait. The reporter wanted Trump to blast Russia and Putin and to call for an unconditional ceasefire now, which is what the European leaders are saying. The European leaders, as if they're on the same script, as if someone has given them a script. Maybe, I don't know, but the European leaders, Stammer, Macron, Ursula, Kallas, they're all saying that Russia must agree to an unconditional ceasefire after the Sumy missile strike. Trump did not say that, nor did Marco Rubio, actually, in his ex-post. He didn't go along with the Europeans either. Trump said it was horrible, what happened, but he said he wants to try and stop the conflict. And it's Biden's war. So the gotcha question did not work on Trump. And Sumy, the missile strike. So interesting story, horrific event. The fact that civilians did die, that is an absolute that is an absolute tragedy. That is horrible. And yesterday we had no information on the Sumy missile attack. The Russian Ministry of Defense, they did not say anything about this missile strike. We didn't even know if it was a missile strike. The Ukraine side of things, they were saying a missile or a projectile hit Sumy, and what was hit was a military awards ceremony. A ceremony for Ukraine soldiers fighting in Kursk. And the event was, from what I understand, was not so secret. It looks like the Ukraine military did not try to keep this event secret. And the soldiers invited their families, their children to this award ceremony. And the building where this was taking place, the area where this was taking place, was hit with a missile or a projectile. That's what we knew yesterday. That was the information that we had yesterday. Over 20 people killed and 80 people injured. And the Ukraine side of things, Ukrainian officials like Bezuglaia and mayors in Sumy, they were blasting the Ukraine military and the Ukraine command in the region because they were very angry at the fact that they held a ceremony, an awards ceremony, so close to the front lines. Sumy, just a couple kilometers away from Kursk, where there was fighting, and there still is fighting in Kursk. There is fighting in Sumy. So there's actual combat that is taking place in Sumy. And Bezuglaia and other Ukrainian parliament members and government officials, mayors of surrounding towns and villages, they blasted Zelenskyy and the Ukraine military, and they were asking the question, why were you holding this awards ceremony so close to the front lines, and why did you not do a better job in trying to keep things secret? Because it does look like there was some sort of a leak or some sort of information that got out about the ceremony. Not that it was very difficult, from what I understand, to get information about the event that was taking place, because the soldiers were inviting all kinds of people to this event. At least that's how it looks. And Bezuglaia was plenty mad. She was furious at the military for holding this event. The mayors in nearby villages, they're calling for an investigation. How did the military and how did the Elensky regime allow this to happen? And that was the information that we had up until a couple of hours ago, where we had the Russian Ministry of Defense issue a statement saying that they did hit this area, and they did hit an event, a military event that was taking place. And the Russian Ministry of Defense, they claim that they hit 60 servicemen. That is what the Russian MOD is saying. The Defense Ministry in Moscow has confirmed that Russian forces were behind the missile strike on the Ukrainian city of Sumy on Sunday, saying that it targeted a gathering of the country's commanding officers. The attack has left more than 60 Ukrainian servicemen dead, the ministry said in a statement on Monday. This is coming from the Russian Ministry of Defense. So the Ukraine side of things, they are saying that Russia hit a civilian target, and this was a civilian gathering. It was an awards ceremony, but they were saying that this was an awards ceremony with many civilians, and the Russians targeted this area and killed many civilians. And the Russian Ministry of Defense is now coming out with a statement, and they are saying that they targeted a military gathering. So it was a military target, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, and they hit many Ukrainian commanders. So that is what the Russian Ministry of Defense is saying in their statement. The target of the attack was a meeting of the command staff of the Seversk Operational Tactical Group of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which was taking place in Sumy that day, the ministry said. Following the attack, Artyom Semenikin, a mayor of the Ukrainian city of Konotop and a member of the right-wing Svoboda party, blamed the head of Sumy's military administration for the loss of life, claiming that he had been the one to organize an award ceremony for the troops so close to the line. That's what I was saying. Why did they organize this event so close to the front lines? He was warned that this should not be done, Semenikin insisted, adding that he was confident that Artyuk will be prosecuted for his conduct. One of the military commanders, I guess, is going to be investigated. That's what this mayor is saying. Ukrainian lawmaker Mariana Bezuglaya, a former member of Elensky's political party, suggested that the Russians had information about the gathering in Sumy. She urged the Ukrainian military not to gather the troops for award ceremonies, especially in civilian cities. Ukrainian journalist and former legislator Igor Mosychuk also called for the arrest of Artyuk and Elensky party legislator Mikhail Ananchenko, who he claimed beside the soldiers gathered civilians, including children, for the ceremony. A lot of anger in Ukraine for the organizing of this event, the way this event was organized and planned. Lavrov even hinted, he gave a statement to the Russian publication Kommersant. Let me find it. I bookmarked it. And he hinted at how this event was not only with Ukraine soldiers and commanders, but also Collective West military officials. Let me read you what Lavrov said, the foreign minister of Russia. The head of the foreign ministry explained that there are NATO servicemen there who directly command Ukrainian militants. Everyone knows this. The New York Times recently explained how the Americans played a decisive role in the attacks on Russia from the very beginning. Without this role, most of the long-range missiles would not have left their bases at all, he said in a conversation with Kommersant. The Russian Federation has evidence that another meeting of Ukrainian military leaders with Western colleagues took place at the facility in Sumy, Lavrov said. I've given you the Ukraine side of things. I've given you the Russian side of things. That's what happened in Sumy. So Merz BlackRock Mertz, he used the attack in Sumy as a reason to approve, or to say he's going to approve, Taurus long-range missiles to the Elensky regime. The Taurus long-range missile has a range of 500 kilometers. Its warhead is just as strong as the Storm Shadow missile. Mertz has been wanting to send the Taurus missiles to Ukraine for over a year now. Schultz resisted sending the Taurus missile. One of the reasons that Schultz resisted sending the Taurus missile was because of his polling numbers and elections, and this is very unpopular in Germany to continue to escalate with Russia. So that's one of the reasons that Schultz refused sending the Taurus missile. But the other reason was because of that audio leak that happened in March of 2024. Remember the audio leak between two German military officials? And they were talking about how the Taurus missile could be given to the Zelenskyy regime and then used to hit the Crimean bridge, the Kerch Bridge. But the military officials, they said that if the Taurus missile was to be given to Ukraine, it would have to be German military officials on the ground in Ukraine actually doing the firing. It would not be, it would not work for Ukraine military officials. They would not be able to actually fire the Taurus missile. So it would have to be German military specialists. And after that audio leak came out, Schultz said, look, I obviously cannot send the Taurus missiles, because now everyone knows that if I sent those missiles to Ukraine, then everyone knows that they would be accompanied with German specialists. And when they were fired, everyone would know that they were being fired by Germans, by German military, and that would mean that Germany is now an active participant in the conflict. They are at war with Russia. So that's another reason why Schultz did not send the Taurus missile anyway. Mertz is now saying after the strike on Sumy that he's going to send those Taurus missiles to Elensky. At least that's what he's hinting at. The Financial Times, they said that it would take 12 to 18 months to get the Taurus missiles to Ukraine so they could be in use. The Mertz government would have to take office, and then it would have to pass an approval process, I guess in Germany, they said, or in the European Union. It would have to get approved by the EU, and then they would have to get the missiles to Ukraine. They would have to set everything up, and then they would have to train the Ukraine military to use the Taurus missiles. So basically what the Financial Times is saying is that they would spend anywhere between 12 to 18 months training the Ukraine military to use the Taurus missiles, implying that if they were given to Elensky, it would not be Germany that's firing the Taurus missiles, but it would eventually, after a certain amount of time, be Ukraine that was firing the Taurus missiles. Maybe the Financial Times is correct. I doubt it. I don't think that's the case. And even if it was Ukrainians that were actually pushing the button, let's say, what about the targeting, the satellites, all of these things? Where's that coming from? Well, that's coming from the collective West, NATO, the United States. I mean, that's not a secret. So look, if the Taurus missiles do go to Ukraine, everyone knows that when they're fired, they would be fired by Germany and the collective West. The Financial Times is trying to cover things up a bit, to muddy the waters a bit, but we all know what it would mean if Taurus missiles were fired into Russia. So that's the update there. When you read the Financial Times article and you read the statements from Mertz, there was a lot of qualifiers in there when he was talking about the Taurus missiles. So it may be posturing from Mertz, trying to play the tough guy, trying to scare the German people, trying to escalate or to scare the German people into believing that he's going to escalate, and there's going to eventually be a conflict with Russia, because for Merz, it's very important to keep the momentum of escalation going, or at least the appearance of escalation, because Merz is pouring in a lot of money to the military-industrial complex, 500 billion, removing the German debt brake and pouring 500 billion, sorry, did I say billion? 500 billion into the MIC, so he can build up the German military, create a powerful German military, because I guess the plan is that in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, by 2030, I believe is what Europe is talking about. By 2030, Europe will be ready to go to war with Russia. I guess that's the plan, and Merz wants Germany to lead the way. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, since we're talking about Europe and the EU, we are getting warnings from the European Union. Warnings from stunning and brave Kaja Kallas. So stunning, so brave Kaja Kallas, and other EU officials, actually. They are warning that any candidate countries that want to get into the European Union, that dare go to the Victory Day celebration, the May 9th Victory Day in Moscow, that if they attend this event, then they will be punished. That's right. This is what Kaja Kallas is saying. Many ministers have made it clear that the EU takes visits to Moscow for the May 9 celebration seriously. There will be consequences. We've got tools. There will be consequences, according to Kaja Kallas. And she's directing this at Vučić, at Serbia, right? I believe if you're looking at a candidate country, Turkey as well, Erdogan. I don't know if Erdogan has confirmed that he's going to go to the May 9th Victory Day, but I believe Vučić has confirmed that he's going to attend Victory Day in Moscow. So this is definitely directed at Serbia. Don't you dare go to Victory Day. If you go, well then you will face consequences, the wrath of Kaja Kallas, the wrath of Khan, the wrath of Kaja. Kaja! Stunning and brave. Anyway, that's the warning from Kaja Kallas. We are also getting reports. Check this out. This is crazy stuff going on. Well, there are reports that Elensky, this is according to Politico, that he's working on organizing a coalition of the willing event on May 9th in order to take away attention from the Victory Day parade. So Elensky's organizing a coalition of the willing day, I guess is what he's going to call it. And he's going to organize that for May 9th so that he could try to pull away attention from Victory Day. That's what Politico is saying. But check it out. What was I getting to? So you have all of this, these warnings from the EU. Don't go to Victory Day. You have Kaja Kallas also announcing that in May, they are going to announce the 17th sanctions package. She said that as well. 17th sanctions package against Russia. My God. They don't quit, do they? One of these days, one of these sanctions packages will work. It'll be 21, the date will be 2146. 2146. It will be the EU's 180th sanctions package, and that'll be the one that finally sinks the Russian economy. Oh, man. Anyway, what was I saying? What was I saying? So check it out. Reuters is reporting that there are there are business interests and government officials, but business interests in France and Germany that are pushing for Europe to open up some gas transit from Russia. I am not making this up. EU countries, including France and Germany, may consider a partial return to importing Russian gas amid worsening relations with the US. Reuters claims that the EU fears that Washington could use LNG supplies as a bargaining chip in trade talks. 17th sanctions package. Let's open up some pipelines between Europe and Russia for gas. Oh my God. They're afraid of Trump. They're afraid that the United States is going to leverage the fact that they control so much gas into the European Union when they do decide to sit down for some sort of a trade deal, that they're now even considering gas deliveries from Russia. It reminds me of that meme. Someone needs to create this meme. Kallas, or it's not Kaya Kallas. It's like a superhero. I forgot exactly where this comes from, but there's this guy, and he has the two buttons. That's what this reminds me of. Button 1, Russian gas, pipeline gas. Button 2, U.S. Trump LNG, and he's sweating. It's like, which one? Which one? That's Europe. That's Kaya Kallas. That's Ursula. Which one? Do we choose U.S. LNG and then give Trump all the leverage over us when we enter tariff trade talks? Or do we allow some Russian gas to come into the European Union and give Putin the win? Which one do I press? Ah! Stunning and brave. Tatters, button number 1 or tatters button number 2? Oh boy. So the Green Goblin gave an interview to 60 Minutes on Sunday. And it was about a 15-minute long interview. Yes, I watched the interview, unfortunately. I would say Elensky didn't really say anything that he hasn't been saying for the past 6 months now. Nothing new coming from Elensky, except for 2 things that he said, which I thought were kind of interesting. The first thing that he said was the 60-minute reporter. What's the guy's name? Scott Peely, I believe is his name. He has that really low voice, that creepy, like he has this creepy look, and he speaks with this low voice. He asked Elensky, what do you think of Russian President Vladimir Putin? And Elensky said that he hates Putin not 99.9%, but he hates Putin 100%. That was Zelensky's answer to that question. I don't hate Putin 99.9999999%. I hate Putin 100%, not 99.9999999%. So that was the one thing that he said, which was, I guess, kind of interesting. I don't know. And then probably the most interesting thing that Elensky said is that he let it out, maybe by accident, maybe deliberately, that Ukraine has suffered 100,000 losses, military killed in the conflict. I believe he did say killed in the war, 100,000, which is interesting because just 6 months ago, Elensky said that it was 30,000 casualties, I believe he said, or was it KIA? Anyway, about 6 months ago, Elensky was talking about only 30,000 KIA or casualties in the conflict, and then yesterday he said 100,000. So obviously there's a huge difference there in the numbers coming from Elensky. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Other than that, not much else coming from the Green Goblin, to be quite honest, during this interview. He bashed Trump. So he used 60 Minutes to lay into Trump. He invited Trump. This is like I guess you would call this passive aggressive, right? I don't know. I think this is what passive aggressive means. But Elensky, on the one hand, he invited Trump to Ukraine. He said, yes, I would love Trump to come to Ukraine. I would like to show him around so he can see what's going on. After he sees what's going on, I'm confident that he'll support Ukraine no matter what. And then right after that, he says that that Trump and the Trump White House, they are believing the Russian narrative on the conflict in Ukraine. they've been infiltrated by Putin's misinformation, disinformation, and they're believing all of it. So on the one hand, he's inviting Trump to Kiev. On the other hand, he's basically saying that Trump is a fool for believing things that Putin is telling him. Elensky actually said that he told Trump never to believe Putin. He is always lying. That is what Elensky said in this interview. Putin is always lying. Do not ever believe him. Come to Kiev and I'll show you around. So that was another part of the interview. From Elensky, what else did he say? Yeah, he said the White House is influenced by Russia. They're fools for believing Russia. All right. He also said that he will never accept any territorial losses. So he said that as well. He says, I don't know, he told 60 Minutes, I don't know how we're going to get our territory back, but we're never going to accept territorial losses, and eventually we'll get our territory back. So basically that's Zelenskyy saying that he will never agree to any kind of peace deal. So I guess that takes us back to the beginning of my video, where I was talking about where Trump is leaning towards, and if he'll be able to get Ukraine to accept Putin's June 2024 terms. I guess we have the answer from Elensky. We already knew that was going to be the answer, but that's what he told 60 Minutes, no territorial losses at all. And then he also said that Ukraine is fighting for collective West values and stuff like that. And if they allow Russia to win, then no one's going to be safe anywhere in the world from Putin. And that Putin wants to recreate, I believe, Elensky said Putin wants to recreate the Russian Empire. I don't know. The empire changes all the time depending on when you ask Elensky or who you ask from the collective West. Sometimes Putin wants to recreate the Tsarist Empire. Sometimes Putin wants to recreate the Russian Empire. Sometimes Putin wants to recreate the USSR. Sometimes Putin wants to recreate the Roman Empire. Sometimes he wants to recreate the Greek Empire. Other days he's recreating the British Empire, the Persian Empire. I don't know. It depends what empire Putin. It depends who you ask. That's where you'll get the empire that Putin is looking to recreate. I don't know. Anyway, that was the interview on 60 Minutes. That was pretty much it. And did it help Elensky? Did it get through to Trump? Did it make a difference with Trump and the Trump administration? No, it did not. Actually, Trump was furious that 60 Minutes ran this segment from Elensky because Trump despises 60 Minutes. Actually, 60 Minutes also had a segment on Greenland. The same show. They had a segment with Elensky where Elensky was bashing the Trump White House. And they also ran a segment on Greenland where they also bashed the Trump White House. So Trump did not like it. And we all know that Trump despises 60 Minutes, CBS News, because of all the stuff with Kamala Harris. And he posted about this on Truth Social. I just finished watching 60 Minutes, the fake news show that was scandalously responsible for removing a terrible and incompetently delivered answer by failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris, to an interview on 60 Minutes just prior to Election Day and putting in its place a completely different answer to a completely different question in order to make Kamala look coherent. Now tonight with two separate but highly inaccurate stories about Trump. They're at it again. The people at CBS fake news just don't get it. Yeah, this was a major fail by Elensky's PR team, by the collective West media trying to support Elensky. A major fail. He thought this would cut through, that this would somehow change Trump's mind or make a difference with Trump, with America first, with the Trump administration. Nope, Trump completely blasted this segment on 60 Minutes. So I think that's everything for today. So much news that I had to get through. How are we doing on time? Can I do one more story? Let's do a quick update on the tariff war between the United States and China. Trump posted on Truth Social that China is not off the hook with tariffs. This is following the electronics exemption. Trump noted that this was not an exemption from tariffs. He said that China still has the 20% tariffs on electronics, laptops, mobile devices, and stuff like that, which I reported on yesterday. 120 or 30% of the tariffs are exempt, but you still have the 20%, which is the baseline 10% tariff and an additional 10%. That's still going to be levied on electronics coming from China. China exports about 23% of what they export to the United States is actually electronics. So China exports a lot of electronics to the United States. That's going to have 20%. The other 120 or 30%, that has been exempt. And Trump posted on Truth Social about that. He said that nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that other countries have used against us, especially not China, which by far treats us the worst. There was no tariff exemption announced on Friday. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. The fake news knows this but refuses to report it. We are taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronics supply chain in the upcoming national security tariff investigations. Yeah, so we're going to get, it looks like we're going to get some sort of tariff policy with semiconductors, and Trump's trade guy, what's his name? Lutnick? Is that his name? I forgot his name. Anyway, this is one of the guys that's leading the tariff policy. He said that we're also going to be looking at tariffs on pharmaceuticals. And that's making the EU very nervous, because Europe is afraid that pharmaceutical companies, if they get tariffed enough, may actually decide to ditch Europe and a deindustrialized Germany, for example, and move their facilities to the United States. So that's an update there on the tariffs. China, they have banned shipments, halted shipments of several rare earth minerals to the U.S. So that took effect yesterday. But China did say that the exemption of the electronics was a positive but small first step from the United States towards some sort of a possible resolution, even though Bloomberg is reporting that the tariff war is getting out of control and could very well lead to a hot war. This is what Bloomberg is reporting. So that's where we are with the tariff war. Maybe we're going to get some sort of negotiations or talks between the United States and China. Maybe we'll find a way. Trump will find a way. China will find a way to engage in some sort of talks, and we can de-escalate, get to some sort of a managed divorce, a controlled managed divorce between the United States and China, or the opposite is that this thing can escalate out of control and do a lot of damage to the world economies. Every economy is going to be affected by this, and could even get to a hot war. This is what Bloomberg is reporting. So let's do a clown world and wrap this video up. Sun is setting here in Limassol. I have a quick clown world. I don't even think it's much of a clown world, to be honest. Kind of funny. But the Russian ambassador to the UK was interviewed by the BBC, and he was asked about Russia tracking British subs. And the Russian ambassador to the UK trolled the BBC, and the BBC didn't get it. They did not understand the troll, and they ran with the story as if Russia is indeed tracking UK subs, and this is very dangerous for Britain. Let's see here. What did the ambassador say? He was trolling the BBC. That's obvious, but they didn't understand this. Russian ambassador to the UK has not denied allegations that Russian sensors have been hidden in seas around Great Britain in an attempt to track UK nuclear submarines. Andrei Kelin said that while he did not deny Russia was attempting to track British submarines, he rejected the idea that such activities presented a threat to the UK. Asked on BBC One's Sunday with Laura Kunzberg whether he objected to the claims, Andrei Kelin said no. Quote, I am not going to deny it, but I wonder whether we really have an interest in following all the British submarines with very old, outdated nuclear warheads. All these threats are extremely exaggerated, he said. So he's trolling. He's trolling, making fun of the fact that the British submarines have very old and outdated nuclear warheads. Why would we want to track these very old and outdated nuclear warheads? It's a bit of a troll, but the BBC did not understand that. So anyway, that's kind of a clown world. What else? Can I do one more quick clown world? Kind of a clown world. Kallas is not only threatening EU candidate countries to not go to the May 9th Victory Day celebrations. We also have the Latvian foreign minister. The Latvian foreign minister is also threatening candidate countries. Don't you dare go to the May 9th Victory Day celebrations. Why is that a clown world? I have no idea. I have no idea. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. Link in the description box down below for the Duran shop. Spring 15% off. The sun is setting. I've got to now get this video up. Take care.